Today, we're diving into something that's not just a new tactic, but a whole new way of thinking about marketing. It's called the marketing operating system. Think of it as the blueprint for moving away from the chaos that most of us are used to and toward building a brand empire that's smart, coordinated, and, well, incredibly powerful. Let's get into it.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Let's be real. You've got your social media team over here, your ad team over there, your email people doing their thing, and everyone thinks they're on the same team. But are they really? A lot of the time, they're running in different directions, using different playbooks, telling slightly different stories. You call it omnichannel, but what it really is noise. Disconnected efforts that are not just wasting money, but are probably confusing the heck out of your customers.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to pull back the curtain on the omnichannel illusion. Then, we'll look at how this whole idea of systems was born out of necessity. After that, we are going deep under the hood of the central command engine itself. From there, we'll get into the fascinating psychology of why this works so well. Then, of course, we'll give you a roadmap for building your own OS, and we'll wrap up with a really powerful idea that growth isn't just something you find, it's something you learn. All right, first things first, let's talk about this trap that so many modern marketers have fallen into. The idea that you have to be everywhere. It sounds like a no-brainer, right? More channels, more customers. But as we're about to see, this strategy has a massive hidden cost that can quietly sabotage your entire brand. And this is the central paradox. You'd think adding more channels, getting on TikTok, launching on Threads, would make your brand stronger. But without a central nervous system, every new channel you add just waters down your message a little bit more. You end up with 10 different versions of your brand screaming into the void. You're paying for more reach, sure, but what you're losing is resonance. That feeling a customer gets when your message just clicks. It's about being felt, not just seen. So here it is, the official definition. The omni-channel illusion is this mistaken belief that just being active on a dozen platforms means you're doing a good job. It's like having an orchestra where every musician is playing a different song. It doesn't matter how talented they are individually, the result is just chaos. That's what your marketing looks like without a single conductor leading the whole show. It's disorganized, it's wasteful, and it's definitely not a symphony. And this really gets to the heart of the shift we have to make. For the last decade, the mantra has been, content is king. Just make more stuff. More blog posts, more videos, more everything. But let's be honest, we're all drowning in content now. The game has changed. The real competitive advantage today isn't in creating one more piece of content. It's in orchestrating all the pieces you already have into one intelligent, cohesive experience. So, okay, if the old way of just throwing content at the wall is broken, what do we do? Well, that brings us to the birth of systems. And this wasn't some fancy idea that was cooked up in a lab. It was a survival tactic, born out of a marketing world that got way too complicated way too fast. Think about what happened around the mid-2020s. It was like a perfect storm. The digital world just became this tangled mess that was impossible to manage manually. At the exact same time, new privacy laws came in, and those tracking pixels we all relied on suddenly stopped working as well. All of a sudden, the ad platforms like Facebook and Google turned into these mysterious black boxes. You'd put money in, but you had no idea what was really happening on the other side. Marketers everywhere were suddenly flying blind. And this is the big reveal. This is the answer to that crisis. In a world where you can't see what's happening, the only way to win is to build your own vision. You have to stop renting intelligence from the big tech platforms and start owning your own logic layer. You have to build your own brain that sits above everything else, making decisions based on your data, not theirs. This isn't a small tweak. It's a massive shift in how we see ourselves as marketers. The job is no longer about just doing marketing work. Writing a good post, sending an email blast. It's about becoming an architect. It's about building a marketing machine. You go from being reactive to being the one who designs the entire system. You're not just playing the game anymore. You're building the whole playing field. Okay, so we know we need this central brain, this machine, but what does it actually do? What does it look like on the inside? It's time to pop the hood and take a look at the blueprint of this central command engine. The key thing to understand is that this isn't a static plan. It's a living, breathing circuit that's always running, always learning. It has 4 parts. It starts with number 1, signal capture. That's the listening phase. Then comes number 2, the logic layer. That's the thinking phase. Number 3 is channel execution. That's the acting phase. And finally, number 4, the feedback loop. That's the learning phase. Listen, think, act, learn. over and over and over again. Step 1, signal capture, is the absolute foundation. You can't do anything else without it. This is about building what's called a proprietary data moat. That means every single thing a user does, a click, a video view, an email open, gets collected and funneled into one central place that you own. No more scattered data. You're creating your own single source of truth about your customers. Okay, so we've collected all this data. All these signals are pouring in. Now what? Well, this brings us to the absolute heart of the machine, the most important piece of the entire puzzle. What exactly is this logic layer? The easiest way to think about it is as the if this then that brain for your brand. It's the master rule set that decides the perfect next move for every single user based on their unique behavior. So let's really walk through this example. Someone lands on your pricing page and stays for 5 whole minutes. That's a massive signal, right? But they don't buy. In the old world, what happens? Maybe they get a generic ad a few days later that says, hey, come back. Useless. But with an OS, the logic layer sees that signal and immediately says, okay, high intent, but there's hesitation. Then, it instantly tells LinkedIn, show this exact person a case study comparing a storming competitor. And then, maybe 30 minutes later, it tells your email system to send a helpful FAQ that clears up common questions about pricing. It's not just a reaction, it's a deeply intelligent, coordinated, and empathetic response. And you see what happens here. This completely flips the script. Your channels, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, they're not in charge anymore. They become delivery drones. Their only job is to execute the commands sent down from your central logic layer. You're no longer begging their algorithms to work for you. You are the puppet master and they are the puppets, serving your single unified strategy. So the system is smart. It's efficient. We get that part. But why is it so ridiculously effective? Why does it work so well on actual human beings? The answer goes way beyond technology. It taps directly into the deep biological wiring of how we trust. First up is a principle called cognitive consistency. Our brains are wired for survival, and that means they love things that are stable, predictable, and make sense. When a brand tells the exact same coherent story everywhere you see it, it feels safe. It feels trustworthy. That natural skepticism shield that we all walk around with, it starts to come down. You're not just another company trying to sell something, you're a consistent, reliable presence. And that builds authority. But it gets even cooler than that. There's this incredible idea from neuroscience called predictive coding. And what it says is that our brains aren't just sitting back and receiving information. No, they are constantly running simulations, making millions of tiny predictions every second about what's going to happen next. It's like a guessing game. And when what actually happens matches what our brain guessed would happen, we get a little jolt of satisfaction, a feeling of rightness. That's called a solved prediction. So let's connect this back to our customer on the pricing page. They're sitting there, and subconsciously, a question is forming in their mind. I wonder how this compares to that other product. Their brain is making a prediction. And then, boom, your OS delivers an ad that answers that exact question before they even had a chance to type it into Google. You've solved the prediction. That aha moment creates a feeling of certainty, and that feeling of certainty releases a tiny hit of dopamine in their brain. Your brand literally made them feel good. It's not manipulation, it's empathy, executed with precision at scale. All right, this all sounds amazing, maybe a little intimidating. So how do we actually bring this down from the clouds and start building it? Let's get practical and look at a simple framework for architecting your own system. It really boils down to 3 big steps. Step 1, isolate the brain. You have to pick one place to be your single source of truth. A CRM, a customer data platform, whatever, but it has to be one place. That's non-negotiable. Step 2, define the universal logic. This means you stop making a Facebook strategy and an email strategy. Instead, you create one customer strategy that maps out the entire journey, and then you apply that logic everywhere. And finally, step 3, implement the channel connectors. You plug all your channels into that central brain so they're all listening to the same commands. And hey, if a channel can't be plugged in properly, you might have to get rid of it, because 2 channels working in perfect harmony are way more powerful than 10 channels creating chaos. And this brings us to the final and I think the most powerful idea behind all of this. It's bigger than just marketing. It's a whole new way to think about what growth actually is. At the end of the day, a marketing OS is about building a system that listens, that learns, and that gets smarter with every single interaction. It works because deep down, people just want to have a coherent conversation. They want to feel understood. And when you build an OS, you're not just building a machine to sell stuff.
You're building a machine for empathy. You're showing respect for your customers' time and their intelligence. Because growth isn't about brute force, it's a learning process. And the very best marketing doesn't push people through a funnel, it pulls them toward value. And that right there is how you build something that lasts.